seconds.
The following podcast is brought to you by the Johners Podcasting Network, found exclusively at WrestlingWithJohners.com.
My guest is another Puerto Rican, but she is based out of Orlando. We have the Natural, which is also known as Dustin Rhodes. Astrid, I want to say Pizarro.
Yeah, you got it.
I'm getting good at this. I can't quite see you because of the angle and my glasses, but I'll try and take them off if it is get that bad. Other than that, thank you for coming on. I really do appreciate it. We finally worked it out after God knows how long.
No, thank you for inviting me. Yeah, I know it's been a little bit, but we made it happen.
Yeah, we definitely did. Like I said, I think I reached out to you in early 2024. Could be wrong, or possibly 2023.
I think it was 2024, if I'm not mistaken. But I don't remember when though. I have a bad memory.
It's been a while. But January 19th, 2025, wrestling is on fire. I mean, just we're 28 days into the year. We've had the Netflix debut. We've had Penta debut. We've had TNA sign a contract with WWE, which that it opens a lot of possibilities. Are you excited for what wrestling is in 2025?
Yeah, I feel like what I like about it is that we have so many possibilities now, to be honest. And I like the part that not only those possibilities, those surprises that can happen. Like today we're recording this and Genesis is tonight, and they have the NXT logo on their branding for the pay-per-view. So it's exciting to see if you never know what's going to happen there between both of the companies. And I feel like it's a healthy relationship too, because there's so many people that have been through WWE and TNA. So now I like the fact that you can mention stuff like that on commentary. Like you said, Penta's debut was one of them that they able to mention his accomplishments in TNA because of the partnership, which is something that wouldn't have been acknowledged before. So it's very exciting to see something a little bit different from what we had before.
Oh, definitely. And you've also got John Cena's final year. Who do you think will be John Cena's WrestleMania opponent? If you could pick, who would you like it to be?
I've been wanting it to be with Cody. I like it's kind of will feel like a passing of the torch going from Cena being the face of the company to it being Cody now. So I feel like that would be like kind of like marquee thing I would put for this match, and that's how I've seen it.
Yeah, I mean, Cody's got a weird one because he's the champion this time around. But a year ago it was Roman. And then you had The Rock come back, which I felt like The Rock, in my opinion. I don't know how you feel, but I feel like it. Obviously, it's nice him doing his little babyface Rock as he would on Raw, but I feel like there was something missing. I don't know if you might agree.
Yeah, The Rock is one of those I understand the nostalgia aspect of it, but other than that, I don't feel like he's done much since he's returned. I would like to when he comes out or say a little bit more or get involved a little bit more in what he does, but at the same time, I know it's challenging, I guess is the word, with his schedule and everything he has going on. So that's the only part I don't like about it, because it feels like everything's like halfway done with him. It's not entirely there. So I would like to see a little bit more in that aspect of it.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one. But I feel like obviously the night after WrestleMania last year, when obviously he came out, shook Cody's hand, gave him something or told him something, and then that was like a little build. Because remember when he did that with Cena, that was like a little build for the once in a lifetime, but it happened twice. And anything's possible in WWE. But I feel like him coming back on the debut Netflix, obviously shaking Cody's hand, drinking with him, doing this, doing that. I feel like it just kind of diverted him through that out the window.
Yeah, pretty much. So that's why I say I would like a little bit more from that. And the fact that we only get him every now and then, I don't think that helps in building things up for the future.
No. I mean, I hope that this year, because I'm a big Rock fan, always have been, I hope we see this at WrestleMania. If it comes on. These two. I want to see these two go at it.
Yeah, I would like to see that, but the way they have it now with no titles involved, I want to see it that way, because I think this match is already big enough that doesn't need a title in it to be a part of it. That's the only major difference for me. when I see this match compared to, and a lot of people would like to have a title on the line, but I'm fine without no title being involved in here.
Yeah, it's a big money draw match itself.
Hmm.
I mean, we've got the Royal Rumble coming round the corner. What would you? I mean, who can you see winning it? I think this year is going to be the biggest Royal Rumble it has been in years.
I've been stuck with people like a Cena and maybe even Punk at this point. I feel like when you have a big year like that, you want somebody that's established to win it, but I also wouldn't mind somebody that's like a little bit newer to get that push of winning the Rumble for the first time. So I've been on the fence about it, but I think Punk and Cena are like my top two that I feel like could have the potential of winning it.
I can see that. I can see Punk. I did a video earlier saying 4 people who I think could win it. Cena was one of them. Punk was one of them. Reigns was one of them because it's his return match in 4 years. Well,
Mm.
4 years. But anything can happen. And just imagine if you hear this. That would be
Yeah.
really good.
Yeah,
We've
I
just
think
been
that would definitely that shock a lot of people, to be honest.
we've just been mentioning about The Rock and how he needs to be, he's the board of directors, he's final boss, like he said on NXT, he's always 20 steps ahead. Let's hope that sets up something, because if that happens, then we see the Roman's face when he goes like that, and then puts his hair back, and then all of a sudden gets eliminated by The Rock. You got more family drama continuing that bloodline storyline.
Yeah, that's very true.
But other than that, we've talked about WWE. Let's talk about you now. You are a very interesting character. You do interviews, pre-shows. You've done NXT. You've pretty much done it all. You work for Bodyslam Nets.
Yep.
How did that come about?
I was really in a mindset that because I do a lot of stuff on screen, I wanted to do something with my writing because that's my major, and I wanted to mix up my writing and wrestling in there somehow. And at the time, I was talking, well, I still talk to him, but at the time, I was talking to Corey Michaels, and I had a back and forth with him, telling him how I wanted to be a little bit more creative with my writing and write more like opinion pieces rather than just reporting news. And he suggested, "Oh, why don't you reach out to Cass and get together and try to join in Bodyslam, and that way you can do it and you write whenever you want to, whenever you have that inspiration. You don't have to write it on a weekly basis or anything like that." And that definitely sold me on it because was tired of writing on a weekly basis. Like it feels like an obligation at that point. I feel like it was burning me out from writing, and
Hmm.
I couldn't really be creative, and I wanted to be a little bit creative with the way I was writing and the topics and things like that. So I reached out to Cass, and he gave me the opportunity from there of writing, whenever I wanted to, of whatever I wanted to write. When I asked him every time, I was like, "Oh, I'm thinking about writing for this." It's like, "Go for it." And that's one of the things I love about reaching out to him when I have ideas. The fact that he doesn't tell me, you can't talk about this, or you can talk about that. He's encouraged me to continue writing and to write whenever I have that inspiration that it comes to me.
I like that. And obviously, what has been your favorite piece that you've wrote about?
My boss, my favorite one out of those so far has been the AEW one. I think it was about 2 years ago, almost at this point. I wrote about the AEW women's division, how I felt about it, and how I wanted more for the women in AEW, and suggesting things of like, oh, stop putting them in the same like time slot, give them opportunities to main event every now and then, give them the same opportunities as the men. So if the men do a gauntlet match per se, just make sure the girls do the same thing, for example, and highlighting them more often because I feel like they have a talented crew and a talented roster, but we don't get to see them often at times. There's people that have been missing for months and we just don't see them. And with the guys, you don't get the same aspect. So I thought about even kind of dividing the roster in that sort of way so that way we can see people a little bit more often and like highlighting them more. And that's something that I pointed out. And I was a little bit scared about writing it just because it's AEW and about the criticisms we get online when you talk about AEW. But again,
Mm.
Cass encouraged me to write it, and at the same time, I was a little bit scared when I posted it, but I thought I can't be the only one that feels this way. And I was a little bit scared by what I posted. I think about like 90% of it was really positive of people agreeing with me. And then the points that I brought up, it was very little like negativity that like the article received, which made me really like happier to like be able to discuss things like that because I know I won't be the only one.
I see what you mean about that, as in, and I feel like obviously you wrote that 2 years ago, and like recently we saw a gauntlet match to become the number one. Tony Storm won to become the number one contender
Hmm.
for Australia. So
Yeah.
we've seen different stuff.
Hmm.
Do you feel like
Yeah, I
you
feel like
that article? Sorry.
yeah, I was gonna say I feel like they have made some changes from comparing it to what I wrote. One of the big ones that I would like to still see is taking them off of like that 9:30, like 8:30 time slot things what they give them, and make sure they open every now and then, have the main event every now and then. That's something I would like to see moving forward, a little variety with the ladies. And like for example, they have the Continental Classic for the men, like something like that for the women would be nice to see as well. And I would like that creativity that the guys get for the girls to get it as well. And that's something that I feel like they're still kind of lacking in that aspect. But I like the fact that I can look at it from 2 years ago almost and see how some of the changes have happened and how they still have some to make too.
Yeah, I like that. When you was gonna put that out, was you nervous at all?
Super nervous. I was writing it and just like thinking whether I should just scrap it altogether. But Cass is like, no, post it. You know, you have friends. I have friends that Bodyslam has friends that will share it and will be happy to read it, and they will give you positive feedback. Like, don't be afraid of it. And I'm glad at the end that he was right in that aspect too. That I shouldn't have been afraid of writing it because there are people gonna disagree, yes, but I'm gonna have some people that would agree with me as well, and I had a lot of them, so that really helped out. And on my way for me to post this.
Yeah, you have like you've just mentioned. You have friends at Bodyslam. Obviously, is there a different departments for obviously Bodyslam's like news articles and stuff like that? How do you determine on what you are wanting to write? Does it just like come to your head, or do you think I want to write about that? How do you determine what you want to write about?
It just depends on what inspires me. Around that time, I was really like frustrated with the women because I know it had been a while, and I wanted to compare how the company started to where it was now. And then I would text Cass and just say, "Hey, I was thinking about writing this. What do you think? Should I not write it, or what changes can I make? Because I don't want any heat on Body Sam for what I'm about to write." And he's the one that told me, "Just continue writing it. Everything's good. Don't worry about it." And he prepared me in that aspect of telling me you're fine, you can write what you're thinking. And I like the fact that I can write whenever I want to. If I'm inspired about with somebody at the moment and I can write about them, I can do that. I can just tell him I'm writing it and he'll tell me whether I should post it or not. And I feel like it goes really well with the communication that we have with each other in there too, and that really helps a lot.
Yeah, I see behind you have a lot of Funko Pops.
Too
How
many.
many do you have to be precise?
Oh, I don't think I can give you a number to be honest. I just have these mostly here because they're the wrestling ones. I have the four horsewomen behind me more than anybody, and people like Liv Morgan and Bianca, for example. I have one on myself too, but I don't think I can
That's
give you a
cool.
number.
That is cool. How did you get one of yourself?
I know at least here when you go to Los Angeles to the headquarters, you can make one of yourself in the store. Yeah.
Wow.
I think I have it, yeah, right here. The only thing is like I couldn't put glasses on her. That's the only thing because they only had sunglasses. But it's pretty much she has a microphone and some earbuds because I figured that will go with the podcasting part of it. Hopefully, like it kind of
That is
there you go.
that
Hold
is
it up.
mad. That
Yeah.
isn't.
So the only
Yeah.
thing I'm missing is the glasses, but I couldn't get them. Yeah.
Honestly, would you class yourself as like a big? I'm not gonna call you a nerd, but would you class yourself as like? Well, yeah, we'll call you a nerd. Would you class yourself as a big
Yeah.
nerd?
I'd say so because I like to collect a lot of things. Whether it's I have Funko Pops and I have vinyls that I like to collect and books and comic books here and there. So yeah, I'll say so.
So you mentioned comic books there. Are you into DC and Marvel?
I like Marvel a little bit more than DC, but I like both of them. Yeah.
Who's your favorite Marvel character?
I had to go with the Scarlet Witch. I love Wanda.
That's true.
Yeah, he's
I'm
memorable.
Tom Holland. I like Tom Holland.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. But other than that, if I had to pick, I loved Endgame. I cried at the Endgame. I
Hmm.
cried.
Yeah, me too.
There's only been a certain amount of films that I've cried at, and Fast and Furious 7, that's one of
Mhm.
them. Avengers Endgame, that's another one. I was very little and I cried at Jack Frost.
Mm, I know. I cried with the last Spider-Man. I just keep forgetting the name of it when everybody forgets about him. For spoiler alert for those that don't haven't seen it. But yeah, I
I'd
cried
be
with that
surprised if
movie.
anyone hasn't seen it. Yeah, and so you've done Bodyslam, you do podcasts, you've interviewed a fair few people as well. Who's been your
Yes.
favorite?
Oh gosh. It's hard to pick a favorite, but I would say one of them. Well, I have two favorites. I'll say I will cheat a little bit. One of them was Seda Steele. She's very great. She's so confident, and I love chatting with her because I just felt like I was chatting with a friend, even though we had just met a few minutes before doing the interview itself. But she has a great personality, and I love talking to her and her energy, and I feel like nobody matches up to her. And the other one that I really enjoyed was Jasmine Allure. Just be able to like relate to her in the aspect about being from being Latinas to being here in the US and chasing a dream and moving here and taking care of our families and things like that. So in that aspect, I was really able to like relate to her, like as we talked even off screen after the interview. So those were definitely like my top two.
Yeah, who would you want to interview in 2025 if you can?
Oh gosh, I had a few. One of them, I'm trying to remember. Maggie Lee is one of them that I have on my list for sure. And
Okay.
Brittany Brooks was definitely another one that I had on it. Brooke Havoc was another one of my big ones. So those are the ones I could remember on top of my head right now that I really, really want to interview this year.
Interesting. Are you a big fan of the UK wrestling scene?
I
Are you
wouldn't say
familiar with
big,
it?
kind of. I would say I was really familiar with it when I saw a lot of people in NXT UK because I was watching it at the time because I was writing reviews on it. But after that, I kind of died down. But I see a couple girls here and there on Twitter that I may see, but I'm not as big on it as I used to be when I was watching NXT UK.
Yeah. What else have you done that for someone who doesn't know? You've done body slam, you interviews, you do reviews. What else? Because you're like the jack of all trades. What else have you done?
Well, one big thing that I did exactly about say almost a year ago at this point, I went to the Royal Rumble as media for the first time with Bodyslam, which is something that was a dream of mine to do, and it was pretty awesome to be able to get that opportunity to be there in person and do
Jealous.
those interviews there. I still want to do the press conference. I haven't done a press conference or a media scrum, which is something that I definitely have on my list for this year. Hopefully, it'll happen. Um, I would say that. And I not only wrestling, but I like to talk about books very often too. So that's another big thing for me that I like to read books and post about them, and just great for I like to talk about anything that I'm reading at the moment.
Yeah. And the fact that you've just said that you went to the Royal Rumble for body slam and
Mhm.
you pretty much, because body slam is like a job and you got paid to go to a big event that people dream of. Must have been amazing. What was the highlight of
Well,
that trip?
I didn't get paid, but it was amazing.
Oh,
No,
fair enough.
yeah, no, definitely. It was one of my goals for that year that I wanted to go to the pay-per-view as media because I had been to some regular shows, but not a big pay-per-view like that one, and that's one of my favorite pay-per-views too. So to be able to go to there and not only do that, but the fact that I was able to drive from Orlando to Tampa just to be able to go to the Rumble and meet some of the people that I talked to online in real life, and that's the first time I get to interact with most of those people like that. It was altogether such a great weekend for me.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm very jealous. How would one decided to get into the media, like whether that's Bodyslam, Fightful, where would anyone even start, or how does anyone even get noticed?
I would say for me, what the thing I've done for myself is that I've grown a lot of connections with people, and not just connections of like we know each other, of like connect going from connections to friendships, and we get to talk about to each other about the stuff that we like. And I would say also jump in and try to find resources, like ask those people, it's like, hey, what can I do to get noticed? Or, do you know of anybody that will give me an opportunity to be able to do this, for example? I done that with one of my friends, Megan. She told me she wanted to start writing, and I just told her, reach out to Cass. I know your Bodyslam will be one of those places that you can write in, and she was really happy she got the opportunity to do something like that. So I think it's always about, to me, the way I see it is like, don't be like a gatekeeper. So if you can share with each other, it's like, hey, I've seen that you like to write and you're looking for an opportunity. Why don't you try to do this and then see if it works out? And from my point of view as well, is to be able to try to branch out and do different things. 'Cause like you said, it's like I like to do preview shows and pro shows, and I like to do interviews, and I like to do watch along. So I try to do a little bit of everything so I can get the experience like all around from everything. Obviously, I haven't done everything, but obviously I want to, so it's definitely something that I have to work on. But I would say always try to branch out and try to do something different. Ask questions to other people that you see online. For me, in my aspect, I always ask like Ella a lot of questions. So Ella's one of those people that I can ask, is like, hey, if I wanted to do this, who do you suggest me I can reach out to? Or do you know somebody, or how I can do this, and any resources or any tips that she has? So I would say like doing that kind of thing, and like helping each other, giving each other advice as well.
I think that's perfect, as in everything you just said. Ella, I was very fortunate to have her on last year. I think I've had a fair few people on, and I've seen that you've liked it. You know, like when I've shared it, I was like, oh, Astrid's noticed me again. I like it. But yeah, getting advice from people, it's like me. Just recently reached, I think, coming up soon, 2K subs on YouTube. Do you know what I mean? That me as a not 23, 24-year-old, 25 next month, wanting to do this. I give it one big shot last year. I've had some really incredible names on, and I've been very lucky.
Mhm.
And I've had some connections through that. I've met some friends along the way. I speak to a lot of wrestlers now. Do you know, like, as a fan, it's like me. I speak to you by DM on Twitter. In my eyes, you're kind of famous. In my eyes, because you've got a lot of connections in the rest of it, whether that's with Bodyslam, that's with Ella J. She's famous. Do you know what I mean? To me, as just a normal,
Mhm.
ordinary guy in the UK, you are famous. And yeah, you get connections. It's all about putting your name out there. The more people you do, the more people see it. The more, do you know what I mean? It's the more you do, the better. So, like, obviously, I'm
Mhm.
having you now. This will go up. We'll do the sharings and stuff like that, and then hopefully someone else will come on, then someone else, then someone else. The more you do, the more it gets better for you.
Yeah, I definitely say definitely that, and I would say always like posting yourself, because I something that I was lacking for a while is like I post clips here and there from the shows that I do, and I feel like it's a good way for other people to see you online and promote yourself and meet new people in that way too.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask you a question now. You must have seen a good chunk, or at least a little bit of my work. What is I'm not no, not whether you've watched any or you've seen, but what has been your favorite? They think, oh, he's had so and so on. That's amazing. What's been your favorite?
I think my favorite ones have been people like, yeah, like Wheezy Blonde. I like what she does, and I respect her work ethic. I wish I could do something like what she's doing. And somebody like Issa, who's another one that she's one of those, like, for me, in the top, that she goes to so many
Mm.
pay-per-views and press conference and media scrums, and the work that she does is, I feel like it's a lot of people don't do it the way she does it, that work ethic that she does. So seeing that, I love seeing those women getting praised for the work they do, because they do a lot of work and a lot of hard work too.
And the two people that you've just mentioned, I have been very fortunate to have on. Wheezy, do you know what I mean? I've got nothing but great things to say about her. Do you know what I mean? The hour chat that I had with her, I will cherish, because it was just amazing. You know what I mean? Because again, you're in America, so it's sometimes okay for you when you go to these events. You know what I mean? You can in person. For me, it's got to be face to face, like virtual. So it's a bit hard unless I decide to fly out there, which costs. But the fact that Weezy's another busy person, whether it's doing Raw, SmackDown, NXT, AEW, or whatever, and then streams, and then reactions, then normal life, then working, then because she's married, married life. Do you know what I mean? She's a very busy person. And Issa, do you know what? Nothing but great things to say. It's like you. I've had you on, Issa, Tiffany Nieves. I've had Nahaya Robles. I think I said that right. I've had a fair few Puerto Ricans. Sorry. I've had a fair few on, and I went to Puerto Rico last year, and I was only there for a day because I was on a cruise, and 12 hours on that island is not long enough. But the 12 hours that I was there was very special to me. If I could go back tomorrow, I would. Kind people, the culture's just good. Everyone loves Bad Bunny. Do you know what I mean? Every shop I went into, it's just Bad Bunny song on. Then you've got someone dancing, and the energy there is just amazing. And I think you can, with you yourself being Puerto Rican.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Like the energy and the culture is something that it's unmatched in that way. And yeah, I definitely, if you can, definitely go back. I haven't been in, I think probably 4 or 5 years at this point. I definitely do miss it and like my family and the culture and things like that because it was a culture shock to get here and not to see the same things that I'm used to being back home. But again, it's one of those places that I just love the environment there and how everybody's family and how we all help each other and support each other in any way, shape, or form that we can. And yeah, it's something that I definitely miss being here. But again, I think that island is beautiful.
100%. I will agree with you on that one. And what I also noticed when I was there, I'm not saying I hurt myself, but there was something that I went through, or there was an incident that happened, and like 3 or 4 people came to check on me. And do you know what I mean? Obviously, me being a foreign person going to your country, you come and help. Do you know, this is what I mean when I say you're all lovely people. You came and helped me, so that was quite amazing. And do you know, like this, so you go to some countries and some people think, oh, British, typical English person, snobs. But yeah, you guys are wonderful people. And I'll say that till the day I die. Do you know what I mean? Nothing but respect and love for Puerto Rico.
Yeah, I love that.
Bad Bunny, his legacy, not just in music. I spoke with Issa. The way he connects. I mean, I can't understand half the stuff that he's saying, but from what people have told me, do you know, obviously the hustle and the struggle and everything with what he went through and what people go through and stuff like that. Can you talk to me more about that?
Well, I also don't listen to a lot of his music. I listen to like clips here and there. But one thing I would respect him always is for sticking up for Puerto Rico, no matter what. It's something that I feel like a lot of people are from the island and then when they leave, they forget about it. And I like how even no matter how big he is, he doesn't forget about the island and what is given to him. And he tries to give it back as much as he can. And you see that not only in his music, but what he does in the local, like locally in the island itself. And even as we saw him in the pay-per-view as well, like the fact that obviously being in Puerto Rico, you can hear the echo of people listening, like singing his theme song as he's coming out. Like I watched that clip. Yeah, I watched it yesterday again. I watched that clip. I still get goosebumps because I think of like how us Puerto Ricans we support each other in that way, and to think of the like that feedback that he got from the people, I cannot even begin to imagine how emotional he was in that moment. It's probably something he probably will never forget about. But I respect the fact that he sticks to the island and he wants to get back to it if any way.
Yeah, that match with Damien Priest, even just that card. One thing I don't agree with, I think Bad Bunny and Priest should have main evented, not Lesnar and Cody.
Yeah, I definitely would have loved that. I would have loved that all together, to be honest, if that happened.
That should have happened, in my opinion, because obviously it's like
Hmm.
someone coming to the UK. That's like not having Drew McIntyre main event. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You've got to do it because it's paying homage to the Puerto Ricans, and
Yeah,
just
it's,
the crowd
I think especially with
was
his,
amazing.
especially if we think about his popularity too, like somebody that popular is not
Oh,
gonna always be
100%.
available to do a show like that. So I will give him the main event spot because that's something that's gonna get talked about the next day.
Yeah, and would you agree that that match and that card, and obviously WWE being in town, brings eyes to the country of Puerto Rico? But would you agree that bringing Bad Bunny on that card brings more eyes as well?
Definitely, because even not only from the pay-per-view itself, but the day before with like the little kickoff they did outside and the press conference afterwards, like that brings a lot more people just because they have the opportunity of probably seeing Bad Bunny in person. And that's already big enough as it is. And Puerto Ricans already are huge wrestling fans as it is. It's definitely part of the culture. So to add that the fact that you have Puerto Ricans in Puerto Rico as part of the roster itself and part of the pay-per-view, it makes us want to go even more because we support each other like that. And I think having him there would definitely open a lot more eyes to different people and a big wider audience.
Yeah, definitely. I think Puerto Rico crowd and France are neck and neck, but I'm going to say
Yeah,
Puerto Rico was louder.
yeah, it
Definitely.
definitely was between both of them for me too.
Yeah. The way do you know what I like as well? Obviously, when a crowd that loud sings, like, I'll give you an example, Randy Orton's theme song, and then he's not had it before really, but in the last like few years, he's walking down and all of a sudden you just look at him and you can hear the crowd singing his song, and he just smiles like that, and you think that's him breaking like character in it, and
Mhm.
you just think as a wrestling fan, what a moment.
Yeah, I feel like those are the best moments that you can get from a show, those memorable moments that when they realize how much the crowd really loves them, no matter whether they're faces or heels, because it's about their work and that's what the crowd is looking at.
Yeah. You mentioned earlier, obviously, about burnout. How do you cope with that? Or how many times have you had it recently? Or because we all go through it. It is, but in my eyes, there's different types. What is the type that you get?
I feel like burnout in the aspect of like sometimes I feel like if let's say mentally I'm not in the mindset to be on stream because I
Hmm.
feel like I won't deliver the way I usually do. And if that does happen, I would tell my teammates, for example, which is the people that I work with the most, which are OLE podcast, we're called our local establishment. And when that does happen, I like how we communicate with each other because we're all friends and we'll say, "Hey, today I don't have the energy or the mental state to be on screen," and somebody else would say, "I would help out and I would do the show with whoever's doing the show with you," and we support each other really in that way. And it does happen often that I could have a bad day at work, and when I come home, I'm like, today I don't feel like being on screen and smiling and being happy on screen because it just feels like a facade because based on what happened to me today. So I would just sit and tell them it's like, hey, I'm not feeling it today. If the other two people don't mind doing the show, then I would just take the night off today, kind of thing. And I like how we are very honest and we communicate each other in that aspect of like, hey, I'm going through something right now. I need some time, and somebody else will either step up or we will make the changes necessary to support each other.
Yeah, I like that. Do you know what I mean? Because it's always good if you've got like a supportive audience around you.
Yeah,
Where did you
it's where
first?
you're at that.
Sorry,
No, you're good.
I do apologize for that one.
No, you're
Where did you first discover wrestling?
So I have two, I don't say two answers for that, but kind of. One of them is like I said earlier in Puerto Rico, it's something that is part of our culture. So will always hear my grandpa watching it, but in Spanish, like the replays of Raw in Spanish. But I wasn't watching it. I could just listen to it. I wasn't paying attention or anything like that. But when I moved here, though, I remember my dad watching it often. Like I remember before that in Puerto Rico, he watched when the whole Lita Kane storyline was happening and the baby and Sinski. And then that's one of those, like, I asked him what he was watching, but nothing else to it. And then we moved here, and he started watching it more often. So I remember watching like a Rey Mysterio and an Eddie Guerrero on screen often. So that's what I wanted to see. I was watching it for the girls, but I was not happy with how they were handling the divas at the time. And then after that is my dad being a Sting fan, then he wanted to watch him in TNA. So we jumped in and started watching TNA because of Sting at first, and we stuck to watching it because of everybody else that we saw there too. So I would say my dad is the person that I credit the most for getting my interest in wrestling to begin with.
Yeah, I like that. Who is your Mount Rushmore of professional wrestling?
Um, I would say if it was for the guys, I would say people like I said, Mysterio and Eddie are definitely there. Rollins is another big one for me. He's one of my favorites ever. And I would say if it's somebody like current-ish, I would say Damian Priest. Definitely one of my big ones right now. Um, and then if I were to do one for the ladies, that would be a little bit tricky to do. Um, because I like people like Bailey, because I like the fact that she can give us a face and a heel, and she's able to do both so differently. But she's also one of those that you can see she's a locker room leader, and she's also helping the newer girls to step up and help them grow. So I like seeing that part of it from her, and Becky does that kind of similarly too, the way she gives back to the ladies on the roster. And another big one for me for the ladies is Roxanne Perez. I definitely love her work in what she did in Ring of Honor and now in NXT as well. And I can't wait to see her on the main roster. And I'm trying to think of who else that I really enjoy watching from the girls. Because I like people like Charlotte, for example, but at the same time, I'm kind of tired of her being in the title scene very often. It doesn't feel the same as it does with Becky and Bailey, for example. Um, but yeah, I would
Well,
say
there's
those are
two new
like the
titles now.
ones. I know that doesn't help me either. She's gonna want to go after them too. I would say those, and I
Grand
think
Slam.
another one that no, it's too early. I would say another one that I really enjoyed too. Rhea Ripley is another one that I really love watching right now. I
Oh,
love
Rhea.
how she's so different, and I love how she's so unique and she's unafraid of it.
Yeah, the whole mommy character. I love it. She's yeah, she's unbelievable. It's just a shame that last year, obviously, she got injured like 3 times. It's like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then they kept that storyline going. It was quite a long, do you know what I mean? Storyline, but
Yeah.
she got it back
Mhm.
finally in the end.
Yeah.
What do you have plans for 2025? What is your on the cards for Astrid Pizarro?
Oh, I definitely want to get back into my interviews. I stopped doing them just because I had a new promotion at work, so I was in that process of getting used to my new schedule at work and everything. But I definitely want to go back to an interview, so I'm in the work on that, and I definitely want to hoping that they do some kind of event near me in the aspect that I can go attend for a pay-per-view that isn't one of the ones that I've been to already. And if I do go to one of those, I definitely hope to do either a press conference or a media scrum because it's been something I've been wanting to do for a while now, and I haven't been able to. But definitely, I would love to travel somewhere because of wrestling somewhere, even if it's close. I don't mind it, but I would like to travel to go pay-per-view.
That would be good. But if you could talk to yourself in a year's time, what would you want to have accomplished or say to yourself in a year and a half?
I would say definitely growing, especially on my YouTube channel because something that I've been trying to grow for a bit now. So I definitely want to get to that level that I can get monetized on my content. So that's definitely one of the big things. Like I want to keep working on telling myself that it's not in vain. You can keep going, and it can happen from there. And definitely telling myself like give yourself grace in the aspect of I shouldn't try to measure up to other people. Everybody has a different journey, so and we all get different opportunities. And to I would say look at myself and say what's happened to me has happened for a reason, and my opportunities will be my opportunities, and nobody's taking them from me.
I like that. I see it says there the natural. Where did that nickname come from?
That came from when I started working with Love Wrestling when I first started in wrestling media. And when I first did a show, one of the guys there, Matt, who's from Australia, he didn't watch the show until the day after because of the time difference. And the day after, he told me, he's like, I just love watching you and the way you talk and the way everything went. He's like, you're definitely a natural at this. So he called me that. So it really stuck on after that. So that's one of the many nicknames I have now, but that's the main one. So I asked him if I could just keep it to myself because it fit very well. So it stuck on after that.
I like that one. It's always good, like when you can tell like a little story about something.
Yeah, I really like that.
I always finish off with an inspirational message from my guest. What is an inspirational message from the the natural Astrid Pizarro?
I would say if I'm like me, I'm the kind of person like if I want something, I work towards it. So if you have something in mind, if you have a goal in mind, like always keep it and work towards that. And then I would say, like you said, like I mean, you the next year you see it and it's like, look how I worked and how it earned me that opportunity that I was looking for. So I would say definitely keep working hard and not only working hard, but be consistent with everything you do because it really helps.
I love that. Where can people find you?
You can find me mostly on my Twitter. It's Astrid Pizarro, and my Instagram is Astrid Pizarro 20. That's where you can find me the most. And I'm usually in our local establishment. On Mondays, we do Women's Classic Wrestling, which we talk about the Mae Young Classic right now at the moment. And that's with Melba Collins and Auntie Collins. And on Tuesdays, I talk about NXT with my partner, Ed Fry. So we do Taking Over, talking about NXT on a weekly basis. And now on Fridays, I'm talking about TNA with my friend Mark Talks Wrestling and Brett as well, which is something that we just started in our local establishment. So we're ready to talk about the, as I like to say, the NXT TNA partnership we have going on.
So you're a very busy person, Astrid. So when's your 3 days?
The weekends usually.
Sundays.
Yeah, Saturdays and Sundays usually. Yeah.
No, but other than that, Astrid, thank you for coming on. I'm just really glad that we managed to finally fit it in, with your schedule in mind. Thank you for coming on, and I really
Thank you.
hope you have a good 2025.
Okay.
Take it easy.